11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. Come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's 4 Pacific for about an hour or 90 minutes each day. We run it live on YouTube. We simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. We watch the live comments that are coming in over on Gun Channels. Occasionally we'll take the audio and post it up on iTunes as a podcast. And we encourage anybody that might be listening to the show now or in the future to give us some feedback on whatever platform it is you might be listening to us. It allows us to know where people are listening. It also helps, ideally, it helps the show get recommended to more listeners. So we do really appreciate that favor. There's 4 hosts, 3 of us on Friday now, and just 2 of us here today. Bob's having some issues with his connection, I think. I don't know if he said it was raining or anything, but we'll see if Bob could jump back in. Otherwise, we got Smeggy jumping in from Michigan. Thanks for joining.
Hey, how's everyone doing today?
I'm doing good. And then I'm down here in Arizona. There's Bob. Jumping in from Canada. We're already just going live, Bob.
Alrighty. Hey, glad to be here. Glad I could make it.
Yeah, right on time. So today is episode 335. On Fridays, we talk about gun tech. We're going to talk about the gun business, and we do our alternative gun topic today. So we're going to talk about black talons in the gun tech segment. We'll talk about how to get warranty work done and what to do if they won't fix it in the gun biz section, and then we'll talk about what commercial trauma kits folks might recommend for the alternative gun topic. Of course, every day we like to feature a gun shop of the day. We talk about a gun of the day, a movie, all the other stuff we do on a daily basis, and nothing special nothing else special otherwise. And before we dig in, though, we usually take a break at the beginning of the show here, see if anything happened overnight, anything worth talking about.
I'm trying to think.
Yankee had a show last night.
Like politically and news-wise, yeah, I don't know of anything. But that's what I was thinking. Yeah, I snuck in on Yankees chat last night.
Both in there yesterday. It was a pretty good chat. It went by in a minute. I mean, we got in there kind of late because there were some issues with the link or whatever. But then, an hour flew by. It was a pretty good show, I thought.
Yeah, I liked it. We touched on a little bit of different things. I like that when you're taking questions from the audience, it's just 1 minute you're talking about shotguns and 2 seconds later you're talking about, I don't know, whatever, holsters or something. Like it jumps all over the place, and it's kind of fun. You never know what kind of stuff they're going to start answering.
I agree. We should at some point just say screw the schedule and just try that for a day. See what happens with our audience. Just ask some questions.
It's really.
Guess we need an audience. We've got 9 people watching today. I don't know if we caught them off guard or if they're going to quit listening because Dano's not going to be here on Fridays. But some people will show up later on. Looks like we got some new names over on the YouTube side. Welcome. So I guess if there's nothing else overnight.
How do you see new names on the YouTube side?
Not YouTube.
I didn't see anyone talking yet. Oh, okay.
Gun channels.
All right.
So,
just make sure.
Yeah, YouTube's dead in the water right now, so I don't know what's going on over there. If you're out there, say something, because the whole point of this show is to utilize the new media. New media isn't taking the old crap that used to exist on paper or on the TV and just wiping it on the internet. Instead, it's using the audience as part of the content creation. It's using these interactive modes of communication that we've got open to us for free on the internet, such as the Google Hangout we're using. So we have the comments over on YouTube that we can watch live as the show's going on to interact, people can contribute that way. Of course, we built Gun Channels. It's an entire community that's built off the concept of new media, so that people that are creating their own content have their own thing to say, don't need to reiterate something else that somebody else said, don't need to regurgitate some line that somebody else has read to them. People that want to do their own thing have a place to do it. There's audiences there that are interested in seeing actual unique content, as well as the concept that creators and audiences can share resources, network, and generally just experiment, have some fun, and push new ground. So we do like to see people, and thanks. After we asked for that, lots of people started popping up with some uh, comments. So great. Why don't we, I guess, head into the show? So it's episode 335. On Fridays, we talk kind of the tech stuff. So we'll be talking about gun tech to begin with. And the topic is black talons. So where do we want to take that one?
I can say I don't know a lot about black talons. I know they were a thing that existed, and the idea was that they kind of expanded like a whole bunch or something, right? Like they were extreme expanding things.
No, they had a Teflon coating, which by the media's incorrect representation would let them whip through body armor. No, whip through armor like a hot knife through butter. So there was the little bit of
why they didn't like it?
A little bit of marketing that was taken out of context, exaggerated and elaborated on to the point of fantasy, and then legislation was made. So I'm going to go try to find the whole cop killer bullet thing, which was something like in the 90s, I guess. Anyway, that's the black talons. Let's go to
I knew that they had the black Teflon or whatever as probably, like you said, like kind of like a marketing gimmick type thing. But then because that made them like scary or more lethal or whatever the heck the media wanted to say, I didn't realize that was their logic, was that, oh, it whips through armor like a hot knife or something. That seems kind of dumb. But yeah, but anyways, didn't they just basically rename it and that projectile is still available and no one seems to care? It's only with the scary sounding name or whatever that people want to ban it.
Yeah, that's about right.
Well, it was introduced in 1991, and it came out from Winchester. Yeah, Winchester Ammunition. And in 1993, some son of a bitch who will remain nameless committed acts of violence and used one, and that started a whole uproar and potentially the spin on it at the time in '94. Remember, this is the beginning of the assault weapons ban and a massive assault on guns. It was suggested that the ammunition was more lethal than typical ammunition, and that their marketing somehow had something to do with the guy's choice, and somehow a murderer intent in his tool. You know, the way that they manipulated that, of course, was I think what is the reason we're talking about it today. Otherwise, it would just be another marketing attempt, with a different type of projectile, either for the consumer or for the hunter or for the law enforcement or whatever. And because they were bullied and we didn't have an internet, we weren't there as a united front to prevent some of that stuff, or to at least give them some answers to their accusations. The company, Winchester, just decided to, like you say, pull it from the shelves.
Right, but again, like I said, it did end up coming back just under a different name, right? Like different marketing.
SS doesn't have the Teflon coating, the Lublox coating or whatever it's called. So it came back as the same projectile, but they didn't finish it with the black Teflon / Lublox. So it wasn't black anymore. And
what was the idea of the Teflon? Like the actual, like what was the company saying it was for? Like easy feeding or something? I can't quite imagine what it'd be for.
Yeah, no, for not destroying your barrel, I suspect. When you've got coppers sliding down your barrel and they have a material like Teflon that can be between the two pieces of metal, same thing in the kitchen, same concept as a kitchen.
Yep.
It was designed to not create fouling, so your barreling would stay sharp longer. Your accuracy then wouldn't stay, it wouldn't be the ultimate for the longest, because you wouldn't get little debris all down the rifling of your whatever barrel you're using.
Oh, that's a good point for the fouling thing, yeah. It's almost like when you powder coat like lead bullets or whatever, because
No,
the lead builds up real easy. So you put a little powder coat on there, and it keeps it from fouling.
The only difference was the color and the type of chemical process. But that's why they put it on hunting bullets. Hunting bullets weren't designed for any kind of application other than hunting, and the bullet projectile or whatever, the coating on the projectile wasn't at all to do with what your target was. It had to do with keeping that rifle in good shape so that follow-up shots would be dead on.
Well, see, I'm learning stuff. Like I said, I only knew kind of half the story. And that's a shame too, though. I mean, really, that the companies trying to whatever think outside the box or do some type of improvement and some type of marketing, and the fact that the media can jump on it and convince the politicians that there's something bad about it. I mean, it makes me wonder. You see some other projectiles or different types of ammo nowadays that I think could fall into that same category. They haven't yet, but it's kind of surprising. Like, why would you name your thing that? Like, you're just kind of asking to get picked on.
Yeah, I mean, they should have called it the White Talon, and then it would have been okay.
No,
well, I don't know about that, but
well, it wouldn't be as scary. It's like, a black rifle is a scary rifle. If you put some wood on it, it's not scary anymore. So.
Well, the color of the material is black, so that's why they chose that. And what's the difference between that and Zombie Max? We're just in a different environment. We're in a different culture, so they're comfortable calling it Zombie Max now.
Yeah, which is fine.
Right, and that's kind of what I meant, is that they're like that, or like the RIP ammo. It's like, oh, what, you're out there trying to kill people or something. Like, I could see them trying to do that. So I guess what I was getting at is maybe, like you said, the landscape has changed, or there's enough gun owners that can communicate and fight back, like via the internet and whatnot, that they just don't bother trying to demonize specific brands or anything. But it's definitely an interesting point in history. I think lessons to be learned from that.
Yeah, you have to watch out what you call your ammunition. I mean, it's,
Well, more so calling out politicians or the media or whoever for jumping on just based on that. Like,
yeah,
there's debunking the stuff when they say, oh, it's designed to go through armor or whatever. Be like, no, it's not, you dummy, and calling them out on it.
Yeah.
So it's also responsible for the continuing saga of the Teflon bullet. So again, it was Lubalox was the name of the material, and it was there for the same reason that you put Teflon on or like you're saying, powder coating on a projectile to aid in to resist the wearing of the rest of your gun, right? The permanent thing with your perishable pieces. So, let the perishable piece take the wear as opposed to the barrel. So in 81, that became sort of a thing. In 82, NBC put out a broadcast, did a special. Remember 1982. I'm sure some of the people listening barely were born then. It was just TV back then. We didn't have cable yet even. And so you were listening to one of the three stations. So on NBC, that was, I guess effectively probably a third of the country had to listen to how the Teflon on the projectiles. Of course, they didn't care at all about either reporting the facts or if they knew them or not. They reported that the Teflon was designed for penetration or to allow the bullet to perform better in its target, when that was never a test. There was never a reason for the Teflon coating. It was never even tested. Nobody thought about what it was doing downrange, because you're usually shooting targets or critters. So 1982, that happened. It became part of the part of the culture or whatever. It just became a thing. Of course, Hollywood ran with it, and I don't even know how many movies are out there suggesting that Teflon bullets are designed to go through. Well, they either say armor, which can mean anything from cars to tanks to people, or they could say soft body armor. Either case, it's incorrect, but that's the Black Talon basically came along 10 years later and like fed into that kind of existing, I don't know, BS that the Hollywood had been continuing from 1981. So let's see. Looks like Representative Mario, somebody or another, a congressman at the time, brought it upon himself to consider them cop killer bullets. Again, probably seeing an opportunity to capitalize on that investment that media had put into, that Hollywood had put into, creating this whatever stigma of a Teflon coated bullet. And then Winchester came along in 1991 with the audacity to create something made out of Lubelux and call it a Black Talon. So even probably without the issue in 1993 with the murderer who chose to use a firearm as his method of murder, even without that, it probably would have been an attractive enough target for the lazy politicians who just like to stir garbage and make a big fuss about it. It probably was going to happen one way or the other, simply because it was brought to market. Obviously the Black Talon, if you look at the box, it does have, I don't know, graphic or whatever. It's just, the words. It's not like there's even a bird or anything on it. But like you're saying, the name Black Talon is just too easy for them. Let's see, according to the Brady campaign, it is a cop killer bullet is any hollow point bullet on the market. Probably you don't know a hollow point bullet. Whatever a hollow point bullet really does, it's designed so that it does not over-penetrate, instead relying on it doing more tissue damage and expanding all of its kinetic energy inside the target. Well, it seems a bullet gets painted with this lube, and now it can go through armor and do its job. So again, they're going to deny physics and the concept of when you fill a cavity of the hollow point with, I don't know, a big chunk of Kevlar, like it actually happens in a vest. It becomes a giant ball, slows down really fast, and then never gets through all the layers. They're going to suggest that the hollow point, the cavity of the hollow point, is going to somehow be filled by the magic of Teflon and allow it to just go through the armor. So it was a massive fiasco. It was frustrating for everybody around I thought the ammo was great. It looked cool. It's a silver cartridge, right? Silver case, I should say, and then a black projectile. So it just looks cool. It looks kind of like the Long Ranger or something. I had Ruger P85s back then, I think. And yeah, they look great. They looked cool. So they cost a little bit more, but anyway, I guess that was too much, too easy a target for them. So the politicians grabbed it, and I wish I could find easier. I should have done a little bit of research for the show. I'm not doing it justice, but there was some legislation that went through, and sad. So lots more than just the Teflon coating on them. They're one of those things like an AK-47 or like an AR-15 that just gives the uneducated or highly educated and very manipulative key players on the anti-gun side an angle. It gives them something to bite onto and to use against us. And unfortunately, all those people in the middle just don't care. They're easily led or easily suggested that this was some sort of Winchester decided after inventing the lever action and bringing rifles out to get the country in all its westward expansion and through the Indian Wars and various wars with Mexico or whatever. We use lever actions, and Winchester decided, let's get rid of this country and let's make a bullet that kills cops. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's insane. So Tony's got a comment out in the YouTube. We actually got a couple that I think is pretty good. So one of the things he said was, if we just ignore bullets and fight legislation, maybe something would happen. And I think you're right on that. The only difference is when the bullet is the specific target of the legislation, that's when, it does matter to, talk about the different things. But then secondly, he said, the left knows we're like nerds, or we are nerds, and we're like hunting dogs with a howler squirrel. We jerk our heads away from the issue. And I think that's true, and that they do know how to push our buttons. So, we have to at least just acknowledge that. And when someone is purposely trying to, throw a red herring, where we get all upset about, them saying the wrong number, or, oh, it's AR-47 or something. It's like the core of the issue we should still be fighting. Like, yeah, they got the thing wrong, and okay, you can laugh, you called it a clip, ha ha ha, whatever. But they're still trying to ban a physical thing, whether they call it something stupid or not. They're still trying to take away our freedoms. And let's not just get distracted up by the stupid little things.
Yeah, and let's not assume that they're completely naive, innocent, ignorant, and just flapping around. They got to the positions they did because they didn't want to work for a living. They're highly intelligent and they're manipulative. So I would suggest they know exactly what all these things are, and by saying the word clip, they're putting a bunch of gun owners at ease, thinking that they're naive and not a threat when they're the sneakiest threat out there. I was able to find on the web here some the stuff that makes me sick about this. So although there's never been a federal ban on black talon specifically, the only federal issues we have with ammunition would be the armor piercing stuff and the armor piercing regulations, I guess. And that's not necessarily a ban on it as much as a restriction on who can sell it. So they basically have the control of the FFLs because they're federally licensed, and they prohibit them from selling armor piercing ammunition to us and the public. And the definition of armor piercing, at least at the federal level, has to do with the metallurgy, the percentages of metals in the projectile. But it never had been added to, or Teflon coating or any kind of coating had never been added to that definition, thankfully. However, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 states do have stupid idiot laws about that. So Alabama has a law that, and according to the internet, so maybe these are changed. I hope these are all changed, but according to the internet, Alabama has a state law that says the possession or sale of brass or steel Teflon coated handgun ammunition is illegal anywhere within the state of Alabama. North Carolina specifically forbids persons in that state to import, manufacture, possess, store, transport, sell, offer to sell, purchase, offer to purchase, deliver, or give another, or acquire any Teflon coated bullet. Luckily, the idiots wrote Teflon, so you can just change it to Lubalox and probably be compliant with the stupid law. Oklahoma, Teflon coated bullets are illegal in Oklahoma under some circumstances, whatever that means. Oregon, which is one of those states that keeps acting like it's a good gun state, but every time they come up on a list, makes me wonder. Oregon state forbids the possession of any handgun ammunition, the bullet or projectile of which is coated with Teflon while committing or intending to commit a felony. So it's one of those like body armor or like lock-picking tools. It's okay as long as you're not doing something felonious. Pennsylvania, one of those rectangle states that everybody thinks is so pro-gun, law provides it is unlawful for any person to possess, use, or attempt to use a KTW Teflon-coated bullet or other armor-piercing ammunition while committing or attempting to commit certain enumerated crimes of violence. So they fancy it up a little bit, but similar to the Oregon. South Carolina, state law specifically bans ammunition or shells that are coated with the long version of Teflon, the real chemical word for Teflon. And then finally, Virginia state specifically bans bullets, projectiles, or other types of ammunition that are coated with or contain in whole or part Teflon or a similar product. So Virginia decided to go above and beyond and ban all similar products to Teflon. So now, good luck with your rifling. You probably can't even powder coat them. But it does say while committing or attempting to commit a crime. I don't like those kind of laws. While it might sound, oh, well, we're not committing felonies, so no big deal. How often have you committed a felony in the vehicle? You probably don't even know, because sometimes it happens and it goes away and you never get caught, or you've never been, stopped while it was a felony moment or something. Felony speeding, 100 miles over the speed limit. I don't know. There's lots of things that can happen in the course of a day that could be perceived by an individual officer as a felony, and if they're they're the law on the side of the road, and it's just another thing that they can involve you in, and you have to pay for lawyers to get out of or deal with. So
right. Well, and it could be something too, like you mentioned the car. So what if like your state has some type of like transportation law, not necessarily for like concealed carry or whatever, but like your rifle has to be like in a locked case or something, and you don't have enough rifle cases and you have one sitting in your trunk or whatever. Well, that is now considered like a gun crime because you had one of your rifles sitting in your trunk, and then, oh wait, you have all these bullets now because you were committing a crime and you have these bullets. Now each one of those is also a crime.
Good point.
And I think of that because when I go up north, if I bring every single one of my rifles, I'm one rifle case short. So it's like, do I just put it in the back and hope I don't get pulled over? Or do I leave my 17 HMR at home? Or do I leave my 30-06 at home? Or, whatever. Sometimes I'll just leave one of them at home so I can have all my stuff in a case.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and they stack the felon, they stack the crimes, right? Because you didn't have that gun in a case, you've now committed this crime, and because you have this ammunition and you committed that crime while you had the ammunition, now you've committed another crime. So they can just stack them up on you, and then what that does is you take a plea bargain.
Right? Yeah, they charge you with 50 things, so you just plead down to like one of them, and then they call it good.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you, G-Webs. I don't like that. That feeling a sense of like, well, I don't do anything wrong, therefore I don't care if that stuff is also illegal. It's the same reason why you don't agree to searches or whatever. Oh, I got nothing in my car. I'll say okay. No, because what if they find sparklers and turns out the county you're in banned sparklers because of forest fires or something? Like, now you're going to jail because you had some sparklers?
Thus a felony, and then because it's in city limits or something, now it's higher, and then now all of a sudden the thing that was never an issue because you're committing a felony while carrying it. I don't know. It's just people think about black talons and we blow it off. So I guess talking about it, I just wanted to reiterate that it was almost a ban on, or at least an edit to the arm piercing definition, which again would have meant if something as annoying as no powder coating and is maybe inconsequential as no Teflon, but still it would have been an angle for them, a way that they could bite on it. And then we need to learn from our past, right? And I don't want to call it a mistake because I don't know if anything ever efforted it or if it was just a failure on their part, or if maybe they just figured out that it wasn't the right time since they were trying to do the assault weapons ban and stuff. But we need to keep these things in mind, and they're going to recycle abuses and infringements. So knowing what happened before is probably beneficial.
Oh, definitely. They do always recycle. I mean, you hear the same, even the same talking points and stuff show up again and again. They'll drop it for a while, and then all of a sudden they get, okay, this is going to be our next big push. We'll talk about waiting periods for a long time. It's like, wait a minute, you already tried those a long time ago. Like, what's going on here? So, yeah, you keep repealing bad gun laws, and they just keep writing new ones.
If you're hoping for originality from the anti-gunners, that's good luck.
Well, I'm hoping they just go away and they're not anti-gunners anymore, and they come to our side. That's what I'm hoping for.
We don't except for an invite to the range, right? So I don't know if there's anything else to talk about. I like it. I have a bunch of it, and it's still, of course, it's still available for law enforcement. So I have a bunch that's 40 that was loaded for the Tucson Police Department, I think SWAT team. And I bought a gun off of a SWAT cop one time, and he gave me a bunch of that ammo too. So always been happy to have that.
Do you ever shoot ballistic gel? Because that'd be interesting to shoot like one of those and then one of like Full Metal Jacket and one like regular hollow point or whatever. That would kind of be an interesting test.
I know a place where you could probably see something like that. It's on this thing called the internet, and what do they call it? YouTubes.
Yeah, I'm just asking for someone whose opinion I already know I trust. If he ever does those types of experiments, or if he's not that nerdy. That's all.
I live in Tucson. It's 111 here today, I think. 105 today, 111 tomorrow. Doesn't lend itself to gelatin.
So you can shoot through ballistic soup.
I'm going to leave those tests to people that have winters and falls.
I might have to figure out how to make some ballistic gel then.
Oh, it's you know how to make Jello? That's all it is.
Did TN Outdoors 9 do a black talon? Because that's obviously the go-to source in like Tennessee Outdoors, all one word, and then the number 9 at the end. So TN Outdoors 9 is a good friend and has basically is the go-to channel on YouTube that Bob's talking about for ballistic testing, and he did it per, I think, FBI or police like standards so that it was uniform across all his tests. I just don't know if he actually did Black Talon because he's done so many. I just don't know all of them.
I imagine he has. I mean, or the modern equivalent of it. I mean, really, it was a neat round because it's held together, but it would open out into these little sharp claws that would rip through tissue, right? And part of it was it would make whoever got hit bleed out faster. And apparently, trauma surgeons hated them because they made such a messy hole. But that's kind of the point. You have to defend yourself. So, yeah, I liked them.
All right. Well, I think that at least wraps up the first subject.
I think so too. So we can always address something again. Again, we're trying to consider this our topics, not so much lectures that you can, consume and move on with your life, but other, rather topics for discussion. So if you are creating content, if you're doing your own podcasts or chats on YouTube or someplace else or on Facebook or something, if you're creating videos or anything, just having conversations with real people in real life, school, church, civic organizations, whatever, something to talk about. Maybe on a long car ride with your gun friends, something comes up, you got a little bit extra to talk about and some things to look up if you're interested. So I think with that, we will move on to the next segment of the show, and that'll be the gun biz, how to get warranty work done and what to do if they won't fix it. But before we do, we'd like to take a break between the first and second segment of the show each day. We'd like to feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. I mentioned Gun Channels is a place we built almost 4 years ago now. It's a community. It's focused on firearms. Plenty of things to do there. Buy, sell, and trade. You can ask questions and get answers. There's a system there. It's an actual system for questions and answers, so that when you get multiple answers to your question, there's accumulated scores that the answers can get, so that as someone who's knowledgeable and gets a lot of positive scores, he gets a positive reputation, so you can take some of the answers with a little more weight, perhaps. It's also an effort to give people an incentive to answer questions for the people that are asking them, and hopefully a format that allows people that have questions to get comfortable that they're going to get good answers, or at least a variety of answers. In addition to that, of course, we have podcasts and live chats and stuff like that all the time. So there's plenty of things to do over on Gun Channels. And since it's completely run by its members, we'd like to take a break at this point in the show and feature one of the members over there. We don't have anybody on the list today. Does anybody have somebody that comes to mind real quick?
Dog Body Officials out there as of right now.
Right on. It's a good choice. I was kind of new to Gun Channels, but we're not doing just the old people or nothing. He's obviously very active. He joins into the live conversations. He's been adding a bunch of pictures to Instagram using our hashtag Daily Gun Show for our showdowns that we do, and post stuff on the main page. I mean, he really utilizes a lot of Gun Channels, and when we built it, so we built it for people that want to take advantage of the various systems over there.
Yep, definitely. It's very active member. That's what we like to see. So and pretty cool guy. And like I said, the picture thing on Instagram, I've been enjoying his stuff. I don't remember. I think he won the hashtag showdown once, but I don't remember for sure.
Yeah, I don't know that I've talked to him that much. We'll have to kind of reach out there. I gotta get more into the talking to the newbies.
Sorry about that, buddy. We now have Bob reaching for you, so apologize for that.
Well, you gotta let these newbies know how all this stuff works, right? It's up to us old guys. Oh wait, I don't know how anything works.
Well, I know what works is we're going to head in how this show works. We're going to head into the next subject. So it's Gun Biz. Talk about different topics. The way we get our topics for the show is from our scheduling meeting. We meet on the second Saturday of each month, and then we open it up to our Patreon supporters. Anybody that's supporting us over on Patreon has a link to join, and then of course it's live, so anybody that wants to participate in the live chat can do so as well. Gives you an extra free show every month just to kind of watch the behind the scenes and the background of how we put together the show. And of course, that's where we fill in all the topics for our segments. And this one must have come in from someone: how to get warranty work done and what to do if they won't fix it. So I guess one way to start would be to say, have you guys had to do warranty work?
I never have. I said, weren't we going to get DB here? Because he's had to have lots of warranty work done. He has bad luck with guns, it seems like.
Well, that is true. I have heard him tell stories of
Mm-hmm.
doing warranty work. I have never had warranty work done, so I'm not very experienced in that.
I've had it done a couple of times. Most main manufacturers are going to allow warranty work. It's liability issue, probably a little bit of pride of their product. So it doesn't really matter if you're the original owner or not. Pretty much all my guns are used, and I've had 2 Tauruses that needed to go back over the years, and then a Smith, I think. So always had real good luck. I know I've heard horror stories and stuff, but the way I do it is I go to the gun shop, and basically I know it's not like I go, oh, this needs warranty work. I go to the gun shop and ask it what's going on, and they look at it and go, okay, this is something that's could be done during at the factory, as opposed to just them tinkering in the back. And they basically send it off, and a while later you get a phone call and you go pick it up. You don't need to do it that way. Like I say, as part of the troubleshooting process, I end up being at the gun shop, or have been at gun shops when that was determined to be the next step. But you could, if you determined it on your own or had a phone call or something with their customer service people, they may determine without the gun shop being involved, okay, this needs to come back to us, or you can send this back to us and we'll take care of it. In which case, federal laws allow you to send it directly to them across state lines. So since they are FFLs, in order to create firearms and distribute them, they can accept a firearm in the mail directly from you. They can do whatever warranty work, and then they can send it directly back to you. So you don't need to go through an FFL and the transfer and the cost of going through a shop, unless you feel more comfortable that way. And then there's no law stopping you from doing it that way. So if for time or for your own convenience, it's easier for you to just drop it off at the shop and take care of whatever shipping with your gun shop, as opposed to going through all the P's and Q's that the whatever it's called that the post office wants you to deal with, or the UPS or something. Sometimes it's a lot easier just technically to drop it off at a gun shop, but you could ship it in yourself. Broom is saying on the YouTube side he had to call Sky customer service earlier this week, and it was actually a pretty pleasant experience. Phone call was only 2 minutes, so that's good. I wonder if they helped him fix something or answer a question or what, but I mean, that's basically along the same lines that we're talking about here. Tony's talking, Artisan Tony on the YouTube side is talking about his Bloomberg. And if I remember right, he sent that thing back a couple of times, right? And having some feeding issues for what it was. And I think, was it a new one, Tony? It's been a while now since those videos, but no, you had a couple of back and forths. It was a little unique because it wasn't a major manufacturer. It's just basically a individual and a small shop. So I think that's probably a whole different situation than like a Taurus or a Smith & Wesson, where it just gets put on a work order and sent to a shop, and one of a dozen guys is picking it up and sending it out. Yeah, Tony was saying it was when they first came out, so it's not an inherent flaw in the gun or anything. He was just helping them to kind of T&E it, I guess, a little bit, or Q&A it, I guess is the better word. I guess with that, I can say when I went to the North American Arms Factory up in Salt Lake City, just outside of Salt Lake City back in 2010, that was a fun tour. We went in on a Saturday. They were not open for work, but they had people there, but we basically had all day. We had a long time to talk. In other words, it wasn't like a rushed tour or anything. And part of the questions we were asking, it was probably my 3rd or 4th factory tour, so I had a lot of questions just on general processes and stuff. In general, so I asked them about their warranty work, and with those little tiny revolvers and with the small pistols, a lot of times they would just rather have the customer send the item back than to depend on the ability of a gunsmith to be knowledgeable about those little tiny guns. They're just small, and some things you take apart and they kind of shoot all over. So when you bring it back for warranty work, it actually goes, if I remember right, it goes right to the same tables that the guys are assembling. So I don't know if it's so much trying to fix things as much as replace the parts that might be bent or damaged, instead of trying to spend an ultimate amount of time or unknown amount of time troubleshooting, trying to create the same situation that the customer had, they'll just kind of rebuild it or rework it. And a lot of times that's quicker and a lot less cost than trying to narrow down each individual weird issue where, you know, maybe it's a bent piece here or a weak spring here, or somebody forgot to tighten the screw all the way there. And you just kind of let the expert take it apart and put it back together, test it, and then send it back to you. And a lot of times that'll solve it for you.
Yeah, that's probably just a more time efficient way to do it, you know, versus the cost of the parts. It's just quicker to replace, you know, anything that might be wrong and fix it, rather than spend the people's time diagnosing and repairing.
So I think we might be whipping through the show pretty quick today. Is there anything else to talk about with warranty work? I don't know if I have that many more tips. Like I said, my tips where I took my broke gun to the shop, and he said, this could go back to the factory. And I went, okay. And off it went. I guess one tip is don't have one gun. You know, things break. And, you know, it's not like a car or a house or something that costs so much that you could pretty much probably only have one of them. You can have a couple of guns, and there's nothing wrong with having duplicates so you have a backup carry. If worst case scenario happens and a lethal force incident occurs and they take your gun for evidence, does that mean you're going to walk around without a gun or you have to go buy a new one? Better to have a couple of them anyway. So I guess that's one tip. Have more than one gun. So if they do have to put something in for warranty work and it's gone for a length of time, you're not out of gun.
Yeah, and make them the same caliber.
Same gun. Yeah. You have two of whatever your carry gun is.
I guess, yeah. Or you could have a couple of different guns you carry. So, yeah.
Well, what about the second part of that question, though, of what to do if they don't warranty fix it? I mean, like I said, I don't really have any experience. I would say, if anything, like if you call them up, they're like, well, that sucks, it's broken, have a good day. Then, I don't know, like what type of repercussions do you have? I guess probably just take to a gunsmith and see if they'll fix it for you, but then you got to like pay for it, and that's annoying.
Well, okay, so most of the time that it's going to be a situation, at least from what I can think of off the top of my head, if you're talking about a situation where the factory is going to say it's not under warranty, what voids warranty? People modifying their own guns. So you take it out of factory spec, it's unrealistic to expect the factory to know every permutation of every possible accessory and every relationship and every, you know, inner working between them. So in order to make the world work, all manufacturers are going to say, as soon as you take it out of spec, it's now your machine. You've just created a new machine. So I guess one thing would be to take all that modifications, if it's something as simple as a sight or a trigger or something out of a modular gun. But sometimes you're polishing. A lot of people decide it's time to polish a gun as soon as they get it. Once you start taking it out of spec, they're not going to be able to deal with it. So sometimes they'll take your out of spec, you know, your modified parts, put them in a baggie and send you back a gun that works with all the original parts. And it's pretty much their job, right? Just to make the gun, the chassis work. If you want to start modifying it though, and it has an issue, that's where gunsmiths exist. So yeah, I think your option is to take it to the gunsmith. The only thing you got going for you now, as opposed to years ago, is you got the internet. So you have places like gun channels where you can ask questions to other people that might even own the same exact gun and maybe even have the same situation. But you definitely have forums and, you know, all the online platforms out there where people talk about guns, where you could explore to find out if someone had a similar or very similar exact problem you had, and then find out how they solved it. Maybe even find a few people that had your problem and, you know, be able to evaluate which solution is the way you want to go.
Yeah, that definitely is helpful. I know when my dad was having trouble with his Sig Mosquito, the guys at Gun Channels helped out a lot.
So was the solution for that just running better ammo?
Yeah, basically. That was, we finally were able to find some high velocity ammo, and it cycled through a whole magazine, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Long rifle designed to run in double barrel Derringers, single shotguns, 10-22s, you know, rifles. It's designed to run in revolvers. It's designed to run in semi-automatic pistols. probably missing stuff. I own a pen that shoots 22 long rifle. So long rifle, when you're sitting down to create a 22 long rifle cartridge, on not knowing what gun it's going into, something like the outside lube is a characteristic of 22. So like the type of powder and the type of projectile, all those things have to do with your use, right? If you're using it for hunting or target shooting or defense or something. And then now you add another layer of what even type of gun is this going to go into. There's a big difference between a 22 revolver and a 22 semi-auto pistol, where it has to feed and it has to extract and it has to eject, where a revolver, all it has to do is work. So if 22 ammo is basically designed or it works good with a revolver, has no correlation at all if it's going to work with a pistol. Since pistols can be as big as full-size guns, they can be tiny, like my little guns. They can be rifles. Again, there's going to be different strengths of blowback. Some of the 22s are blowback, so requires the energy from the round to cycle the action. If you've got something that can barely get a round out of a revolver, it's unrealistic to expect that to run in a semi-auto pistol. So I don't want to necessarily blame a gun when part of a troubleshooting step for a semi-auto pistol is usually buy at least 4 or 5 different brands of the ammo, especially in the 22, and then see which one of those performs better, because you could have a gun that won't perform with 4 brands of ammo, and then that fifth, speaking of that, kind of narrow cast right here, Smeggy, that PMR 30 works best with Winchester white box 22 mag. For some reason, it just always works with that, and it works with the other stuff, but it always works great with the Winchester.
Okay, that is good to know.
And that's
a little bit different because it's 22 Magnum, so it has a lot more extraction issues. Because 22 Magnum's the same exact situation. It could run in Magnum or in revolvers and rifles and anything else. So out of that specific pistol with the 30-round magazine and that kind of spring tensions and stuff, I found it with the Winchester white box, which at the time was like $9 when I was buying it, and everything else, all the other fancier ammo was like $13, and it didn't work any better. And then the cheapest 22 mag was like $7, so it wasn't like I had to buy premium ammo to get it to run well.
Yep, I went with because this is what the range had was Winchester VMAX.
For the expensive stuff.
It is expensive stuff, yes, but it worked. So I just bought a couple boxes of it so I could have fun with my friend on the weekend. And I figured I wouldn't bother stocking up till I found something I knew worked good. Then I'll buy a whole bunch of it and be done.
Yep.
Yes, I'll take a couple of pictures of the box when I remember and post them on Instagram or something so you know which one I'm specifically talking about in case they've got 2 white boxes now or something.
Okie dokie. That sounds cool.
So I guess that's this segment. People are talking about a gold bar that went missing in the mail and the weight of the slide.
That was my gold bar. If anybody finds it, just send it to Biker Bob.
I'm pretty sure the real HVS will have something to say about that.
So I guess with that, we can move on to the next topic today. And I don't know if we want to go into the next topic or if we want to hit one of our daily pieces. I'll let you guys think about that. And I'll take another break here and we'll mention the 24-hour gun show. So we talked about earlier when we were talking about gun channels, there's a place to buy, sell, and trade. We call it the 24-hour gun show, mainly because it's open 24 hours and I like gun shows. So you can click on the link. It's all over the website, and it'll take you to a place where you can buy, sell, and trade. You can browse through the stuff that's already there. Anybody who's a member can post something. If you want to post something and have it show up at the top as featured, it's like $7, and I forget how many months. I basically set it for the maximum amount, so you'll have it for many months up there for $7. I did that in case somebody just wants to move something quickly or has something with enough value that the $7 isn't much. Of course, the $7 goes to running the site, so it's an option. It's not necessary. There's a free option, and that'll run forever. So, it's not like it expires or anything. We're there to facilitate, trading and stuff. So, it's not a money-making aspect of the site or anything. Anyway, we wanted to mention that Dano has a couple of mags over there. Some people, I put a bunch of patches up there. People have been posting things, so I encourage you to browse around. If you've got something to sell and you want a little extra money, throw it up there. Maybe you got something to sell and you're looking for something, put in some trades you consider. That gives more people all the more reason to browse through that section, and obviously the more people using it, the more people are gonna find to browse through there. So hopefully it's a aspect of the site you haven't checked out and you start to enjoy. So what should we move into?
I don't know.
Do gun of the day.
Okay. Gun of the day. The Tavor TAR-21. Why'd I pick the Tavor? I don't know. I just looked it up online and thought, oh yeah, that's a cool gun. I kind of forgot about it. And it's one of those guns that the liberals hate because it looks so scary and high speed, and just because it's a bullpup. But neat little gun, takes AR-15 magazines.
I've never heard a liberal be like, oh, I really don't like Tavors. They don't even know they exist, dude.
Yeah, they do.
I can see what Bob's saying, but I agree with Smeggy. I've never heard anybody persecute any bullpup, let alone the Tavor.
They may call them an AR-15 and say we should ban them, but
yes.
I've never heard someone be like, the problem is people have bullpups or people have Tavors, or they probably don't even know what the word bullpup means.
No, it's one of those guns up here that the liberals hate, and it's completely unrestricted, right? So they can't stand the fact that we can just buy these, but we can't buy an AK-47, but we can buy a Tavor.
Have you shot a Tavor?
Yeah, the trigger's shit, but it is on all bullpups. You can get used to it. I kind of like them. It's different than most of my other guns.
Never mind.
They're solid. They are well made. They seem like a cool gun, but they have no appeal to me. But they do seem to be well made. And they do kind of look cool if you like that spacey sci-fi movie look.
I kind of do. I've kind of got into that lately. It's
so
not
HVS out there on the YouTube side. I think he's an advocate for the Tavor.
Yeah, I think I've seen pictures of him with a Tavor. Yeah.
Oh, what am I doing? All right. Well, I don't know if we have to say anything more about it. It does take the AR mags, which is nice, made in Israel, which is interesting. And like I say, every time most Tavor owners are super satisfied. It's not crazy to the point of talking about it all the time, right?
Yeah, it's one of those guns that you get it and you go, yeah, that's what I thought it would be. Boy, it works good. Yeah, it's just a really well built, good working, personal defense type rifle, as well as you can hunt with it. It's .223. It's good for small game, rabbits, gophers, varmints.
HVS is an owner of one. He says it likes the Gen 3 PMags. So FYI, if you're planning on buying one, maybe take a look at that.
Nice, like the GI mags.
Why would you buy a Tavor and then stick aluminum GI mags in it? Mags that were
I like aluminum mags, man.
60s. So I guess then you can also take that with a grain of salt. And if you are going to take Bob's advice on the bullpup / Tavor, if he's going to go around saying he likes the oldest possible magazines you could buy for him.
Yeah.
So sorry, I was breaking up a little bit there. I thought it was Bob, and then G-Webs was breaking up also, so it must have been me. Hopefully I'm coming good now. But I wanted to ask you, Bob, how does the Tavor get around all this stuff in Canada? So, what part of it makes them okay?
They didn't put it on the list when they outlawed all the rifles they outlawed. It wasn't around yet. So it's legally long enough, and it's legally got a long enough barrel, and it's a semi-automatic rifle. So other than that,
so they didn't do anything about features or anything. They just said specifically
they went through a book.
Name.
Yeah, they went through. I think they went through gun magazines and said, "I don't like the looks of that one. That's outlawed." And then AR-15s they got to and went, "But that's America's gun, and it's the military used it." So it was like, okay, but it's the same as a handgun. You can only take it to the gun range. But like other things like AK-47s and that kind of stuff, it was like, that's an evil gun. Outlaw that. That's the evil, So yeah, we can't have AK-47s. We can have things that look like them, but they went through a book. They went through a magazine.
All right, that's it.
scary.
Yeah, that's what I was curious on. So they just specifically ban stuff by names, and
Yep.
so there you go. That's almost like what we were talking about before with when you do stuff by name only,
Mhm.
and then
Then you can get around.
don't name your rifle the zombie hunter or whatever, because they'll be like, oh, that must be scary.
Yeah, there. I can go into specifics on that, but nobody wants to hear about it. But yeah, like I say, we can have VZ-58s, but we can't have AK-47s. Same caliber, functions the same. I prefer the VZ, but basically the same gun. Uses the same, and yet one's illegal, one's not. Gun laws.
We're talking about the Tavor, not Canadian gun laws. Right. I'm going to agree with Artisan Tony, who said that the Tavor is weird to shoot or something like that. It went scroll by already, but I agree. You have to wrap yourself all up around it, and it's like any bullpup. Your hands are next to each other, so it's weird. And I suppose if you shot them a lot, you get used to it. But just a regular shooter who wraps themselves around any bullpup, but specifically the Tavor, because it's kind of small. It is kind of odd to shoot. You're not going to get a standard shooting stance for sure. You're going to have to kind of learn to shoot again to some extent.
Well, yeah, but that's got to do with size of yourself too. I mean, a regular sized person who's like 5'8" or 5'9", Tavor just fits them perfectly.
Oh, okay. So that's another advantage, that it only works with standard sized people?
Oh no, it works with big people too. It's just that they have to kind of crouch in on themselves, and that makes them feel all uncomfortable because they're used to being sprawled out, taking up way too much room.
Mm-hmm. So
are you size shaming, Bob?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Are you saying I don't fit in because I have long monkey arms?
I'm saying it must really suck to sit next to you on an airplane.
No, because I always get exit row. I'm a baller.
Did you get your elbow out of my ear? But I'm trying to eat.
Well, now we're eating on airplanes, so I'm going to suggest that's that topic. So every day
that's the Tavor. Go buy one if you want.
Every day we try to feature a gun of the day. So again, one of the reasons we do a daily show is so that we can keep featuring stuff like that. If you'd like to suggest them, Bob usually comes up with the gun of the day, and sometimes he has themes for the week and stuff, but I'm sure he's open to suggestions. You can always email us at dailygunshow@gmail.com and throw in a couple of examples, or if you just want to hear what we think about it, because we run the gambit from very old to brand new like this, to big to little, to unique to common. So just try to randomly throw it out there. Again, our show isn't to follow the news of the day necessarily. It's just to keep the conversation about guns going. So participate in the show and give us some suggestions of guns of the day.
Yes. No, I'd appreciate it. It's hard to rack it in your brain.
So one of the other things we like to do on the daily is a gun shop of the day. In fact, one of the reasons I started doing the show with Bob way more than a year ago now, so that we could feature a new gun shop each day. Our plan was to start the gun show loophole tour, which is still going to happen. Just it's taking longer than I want. But one of the reasons we started this show is so that we could feature a new gun shop every day. I'm a gun shop nut. I like them. I've been going to them for a long time. I really appreciate an interesting gun shop. And there's lots of them out there in this country. They're also in danger, not from just the big boxes, but from the Bloombergs out there, to apathy, and to people that are willing to save a quarter and watch a shop die. So for all those reasons, we like to encourage anybody who might be out there who has a cool gun shop, a shop that's unique, has a cool story behind it, or just nice people, whatever. You've got a camera in your pocket. You've got a phone. When you walk into the shop, ask if it's okay to take a couple of pictures. I can't urge you enough. I've only, in my whole lifetime, I've had maybe a couple of shops like say no. Most shops do not mind at all. It usually starts a conversation, and they ask why you're taking the pictures, who you're sharing them with. It gives you an opportunity to talk about whatever it is you're working on. If it's a YouTube channel, if it's a podcast, if it's a blog, it gives you a chance to talk to them about it in a non, business-like way. Just trying to help them out. And if you're doing that, you can help your channel out, your efforts out, and you can help us out by sharing that with us. So take those pictures and make sure it's okay. Take those pictures, post them wherever you're going to post them. Send us a link. We'll be more than happy to talk about the shop. We'll let them know that it came, you know, if it's from your YouTube channel or if it's from your blog or whatever it might be, your gun channel's channel. Or if you don't have the interest to do all that, send us an email, dailygunshow@gmail.com. Plenty of people take advantage of that. Send us links to their shops, maybe a paragraph or two about why they're sending it in. We're happy to talk about a new shop every day. We don't have one in the schedule today, but I'm going to talk about one of the ones we went to down in Tombstone last Wednesday. Heavy B from California, now relocated to Tucson or to Phoenix, and Jimmy James, host of the Early Watch, a long format show over on Gun Channels each weekday morning. We got together on the other day, Wednesday, and went down to Tombstone, Arizona. I was working on getting some content for the cards, and I wanted to see what the people in Tombstone thought of the decks of cards. So Heavy had not been to Tombstone before, and Jimmy had been there a few times. So we all went down there, had a great time. We tried to stop at that gun shop in Benson that Bob and I have talked about a few times, but we were there too early. They weren't open yet. So we would head down to Tombstone. We've talked about a couple of the shops in Tombstone, and then we ended up in Sierra Vista and checking out that shop in Vail, that old guy in Vail, and then going over to Tucson Guns. But I'm going to talk about the Mercantile. So in Tombstone, you've got the road that takes you to Tombstone and then follows through town and goes out to Benson, southern, to the border of Arizona and in Mexico. There's that main strip, and I don't know if it was really, I'm sure it had to exist back in the old days, but it's not really the historic part of town. If you go one street south, parallel to the main drive-through town, is where you get the new, or let's say the town of Tombstone, the tourist town of Tombstone. And it's got most of those old facades, of course, modern, but in the old style. The wooden, what do you call the wood sidewalk? There's a name for that. Can't think of it, but no, it's not a boardwalk in the old West. But whatever
sounds cool to walk on.
Yeah, it's really experience. It's all old, and anyway, there's some shops there for just typical tourism stuff. You can buy books, you can buy different period clothing. There's shops that let you dress all up, and you get a picture taken like an old timey thing. If you've got a group, everybody can dress up, whatever you call that. There's restaurants, there's some bars, there's a place that sells cigars. There's a place you can shoot real Rugers with wax bullets at some steel targets. In that same place that you can play poker. So all along the street there, it's about 2 blocks long, and on both sides of the street. On the far east end of Tombstone, though, there's one of the larger, probably the largest, I think, like souvenir shops or stores, is called the Mercantile, I think. And it's the one with the guns. So if you've been to Tombstone before, it's the one, you may not remember which side's east or west, but it's the one on the one end of town that has all the guns. Most of the other gift shops might have a gun or two, but they've all kind of, I imagine, just decided that they're the ones that are going to supply all the guns. So they have everything from little keychains and cap guns, I guess, little things that make noise, all the way up to not real firearms. They might have a couple of real firearms that aren't firearms, pre-1898, so they're just machines. But those are expensive. But mostly they have they're not really props. What would you call them? Just replicas, things that look very much like a firearm. They're made out of metal. They're probably made out of Zamek, the same material they make a Matchbox car out of. But they're, metal, and they have some weight to them, some heft. They usually have operating hammers and triggers and stuff. So again, for just someone who's not a gun guy and wants to have something cool to hang on the wall, or a cool present for a kid or something who's not ready for a real gun yet, they sell that kind of stuff. They have Indian blankets, they have dusters, all the stuff the other shops will give you to put on and take a picture. You can just buy it at this one. They have a ice cream shop, which I've never been into. I'm not much of an ice cream person, but I think it might be like old-timey ice cream. I don't know, but kind of a neat place. It was homemade for sure, but I don't know. They must have made ice cream back in the olden days. I don't know if they make it in the old-fashioned ways, or if it's just...
Yeah, it's ice creams have been made the same way forever, right? It's ice, it's salt, and it's cream.
Well, okay, technically you create ice cream the same way, but nowadays it's done in crazy vats and machines, and I'm
right.
Back in the old days, small batch, and it would have been, I'm sure, a lot different.
And crank. Yeah, that's what your kids had to do if they wanted ice cream. They had to spend 3 hours cranking it.
So yeah, Bob's been there. So it's a pretty cool spot. or been to the shop we're talking about, right? The front, like some knives and some of the guns and stuff, and then as you get back, you get through some books, and they have a really good selection of books actually. And like say, it's actually closed there. The dusters were like $79.
I know. Like, I was really tempted to buy some of that stuff. Right? They had some decent hats. Hats were a little,
and they weren't like cheap garbage. They were made in Nicaragua. They were made in Nicaragua, so it's not China. I mean, and you find some clothes that aren't made in Nicaragua nowadays. So I mean, they were fairly well made. I know from Jimmy James doing the early watch and Sean covering for him. Tony, not Artisan Tony, but Tony from Illinois, is just getting into the single action stuff, and just bought his rigs, or his, what do you call, gear to wear to the single action events. And he said his duster was like 100 and something. So I just happened to remember that because I always like dusters. But anyway, I've never owned one. I live in Arizona. What do I need a duster for? But anyway, I saw him at the shop there, and yeah, $79. So I mean, that's the opposite of what you'd expect in a tourist town, right? You'd expect it to be like $200 or something.
Yeah, and it was decent quality. Same with
I would totally buy one. The only reason I didn't is because I don't have any money. But I imagine as soon as I have some extra money and I think about it, maybe when it's raining or something, I'll consider it, because dusters are cool.
Oh yeah, they're we're
talking about the shop dusters, I guess. But keep going past that stuff, you get to like almost like I wouldn't call it I guess what do you call it? Like a junk shop, I guess, like just stuff. So some of it's like, it's not all necessarily olden days stuff, but like, they had an old Jeep from like maybe an 18 play set, and just, kind of like garage sale type of stuff. So I don't know if it's just people in town that are selling some vintage stuff, but just kind of a neat thing that once you get to the very far end of the store, there's actually just some interesting other stuff that isn't necessarily the same old Tombstone stuff, which I guess is probably a good variety for the people that are taken to Tombstone but aren't necessarily interested in it. They're looking for something else. So it's kind of,
no, I really like that store. It also had some lingerie in it, I noticed.
Okay.
Like old-timey Western lingerie.
Yeah, I want to bring that up because they ask you really clearly not to try it on, and we did get kicked out, but we'll leave it at that.
Okay. I don't know what Heavy was doing, but you know what? That's his own thing.
I'm going to file that into stuff I wish I've never heard said.
All right. Well, I think that's probably a good place to end it. We do try to feature a gun shop every day, and this one is not technically, well, I guess it's kind of a gun shop, but anyway, it's kind of in a neat location. And if you ever happen to be in Tombstone and you're getting sick of it, it's getting hot, and you're kind of wondering when you should leave, if you haven't been to the store with all the guns and stuff, just remember it's there. Walk all the way to the end and check it out. I'm going to take a quick break and talk about a comment that Dog Body put up here. If I looked at an old cop van, those go pretty cheap and are normally in good condition. That's all I'm looking at is vans all the time. And yes, I'd very much like to buy a cop van. I've put bids in actually on a couple so far that I didn't win, because cop vans are usually cooler than like the school vans that I end up, being in the market, in the right price range for. Cop vans usually or control, what do you call it, like a headquarters or some kind of a on-scene like thing, so they don't get as many miles a lot of times. What do they call those, crime scene units or whatever? So not as hard of miles, they're not chasing criminals in them. So yeah, that's very appealing to me. Unfortunately, I've got 10 days left on the old West Guns playing card decks, and I'm really putting all my effort into trying to. Things like it turns out I have to buy pictures from the NRA. I'm looking for a picture of a Remington ring trigger, which is a 4-barrel Derringer that has a trigger shaped like a ring, and it's very. I have not found one. I went down to Tombstone; they didn't have one to take pictures of, and the people I know in Tucson who sell that kind of stuff. Actually, I forgot about Frontier. I need to get over to Frontier. But anyway, most of the people I've talked to in Tucson have not been good leads. There's only one that I know of in Tucson, and the guy who knows who has it won't tell me because he thinks I'm a jerk, I guess. So been dead ends. Tried to get to the NRA to use one of their pictures, and they're going to charge me. I don't really want to get into all that. But anyway, I have 10 days left on the Old West cards, and I'm efforting towards doing as much as possible with that. And the city of Tucson decided yesterday that that wasn't enough for me to deal with, that I now have to get rid. I have 10 days to get rid of my van or build a fence around it. So I might not have an option but to scrap it, which is not appealing to me. But I figured I'd mention that since you guys are bringing up vans. It's kind of a sore spot. Not, It's just annoying that I have to now make a decision that I've been putting off because it's not an easy decision, but a little distracted. Anyway, sorry to take it narrowcasted to that, but figured some people might be interested in that. Where do we go next?
I don't know. Where are we at?
Well, we did the gun shop now. We did the gun of the day. We could go to alternative gun topics, I suppose.
Well, yeah. We could also talk about windbreakers. I mean, that's an alternative.
Yeah, except none of us are ready, are we? So usually if Dano was here, he'd be chomping at the bit to do it, but
that's true.
Got a bunch of clicks to click before we can get into that. So why don't we talk about the third topic, which is you thought we weren't going to do it, but then we did it. So we zigged and then we zagged.
Serpentine, man, we serpentine.
And then we ziggity zagged.
Yeah. So
that's serpentining.
That's the old sound before the weird air siren thing happened, and we do a daily tactical pop quiz. Usually Dano does this, so he's got it down better than we do. So every day we try to take a break. We want to say thank you to people that are watching us live, so we give you a little quiz, and if you can win the quiz, we send you to a link, and you can record your win, and later on we will do something with those accumulated wins. I'm hoping somebody has the question.
Yeah, I can read the question if you want me to.
All right, I'll watch the sides for those answers. Those answers.
Yep, there you go. There's your first hint right there. Those answers.
There is 2 answers.
All right, I'll read it twice, and all the rules apply and whatnot. What were the 2 revolvers carried by Val Kilmer's character in the movie Tombstone? What were the 2 revolvers carried by Val Kilmer's character in the movie Tombstone?
Well, it would be a Western, so what would that be? Western type guns. Cowboy guns, right? Wouldn't that be the answer? Just cowboy guns?
That would be an answer. It would be incorrect. So we're looking for 2 answers. We've got some modern answers on the YouTube side.
We have some people saying one thing.
Oh, are you saying that somebody's got one of the answers? Or
no, I'm saying they're only providing one answer.
Oh.
So they already aren't going to win.
Yeah. There's 2 separate answers, I guess.
We've got a buntline and a Colt Lightning.
I don't think it was a butt line.
Val Kilmer was, what's his face? Doc Holliday. Did Doc Holliday carry a bunt line, or did Wyatt Earp carry a bunt line?
Wyatt Earp carried the butt line.
So
and that was was presented one. He didn't actually carry. He carried a standard 7.5-inch barrel.
Okay. Broom was talking about, or his answer is a single action Army and a Smith & Wesson Model 1. That's not correct.
There we go.
Close, though. Yeah.
It was very close. So we did get the correct answer over on the YouTube or on the Gun Channel side now. From just double checking the YouTube side, nothing came in. So yeah, that was very close. It was a Colt single action Army. And I think Tony had already brought up the Lightning or Thunder, whichever you want to call it. I don't know which caliber it was. But the double action Colt, the Lightning. So we got the right answer from Raphael on the Gun Channel side.
They were usually 41, I think.
So each person got one answer correct and then the other gun wrong, and he put the 2 together.
Oh, the sneaky bugger. He quarked them. He quarked them both.
Or he knew them.
Yeah, you just got the right answer. I'm not, because we never said which one was which or whatever. But
yeah, so the
just doing some drama.
The Lightning is the 38 and the Thunder is the 41.
Oh, okay.
So I guess he carried an actual Lightning. So that was what we were looking for, not just double action Colt. But that was the first double action Colt. It was first double action revolver, basically. And then first double action revolver ever, but at least the one in the Old West, I think. And then a single action army, which would have been the real one. I've heard that I know the lightnings and thunders are pretty fragile, so I imagine back in the day they're a little stronger, but I don't think I'm not aware of any gunfighters or anybody that carried just double actions.
Billy the Kid, actually. So, at the end, he was carrying 2 lightnings, I think.
Okay, and that's when he died. So
I think you should carry a lightning and a thunder, and then shoot one, and then like 5 seconds later shoot the other.
Lightning thunder, lightning thunder.
Yeah,
that'd be actually kind of cool. Would be.
But anyways, before we go out too crazy, I do want to acknowledge that Raphael was the correct answer, and by giving us the correct answer, that makes you the tactical. Don't step on my shit, Bob.
No.
That makes you the tactical hot shit of the day.
What was so important to say in the middle of what he was saying, Bob?
Oh, I was just going to say, I want to do it, but that's okay. You could do it, Smiggy. Bastard.
I'm not allowed to do it. I'm allowed to do it.
I do it better than you.
So
okay, go ahead, Bob. We'll
maybe
let the audience vote.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob, and then we'll let the audience vote.
Okay, so that makes you the tactical hot shot of the day.
I'll let you guys vote, but I think we all know who did better.
Well, it's certainly unique. So
oh, shut up, Smeggy. I'm still jealous because you got that PMR 30.
That he bought, he didn't get nothing.
Yeah,
I'm
bought it.
happy that he
wanted it.
Allowed me to live for another month with a house. That was awesome. Thank you. So why don't we continue on to the next subject, which will be the movie of the day, I guess. So every day, try to feature a movie that has something to do with guns, something you haven't seen in a while, or if you're a youngin', something you ain't seen yet. And I don't think this qualifies. I'm sure most youngins probably seen this one over the old folks, but it's called The Rundown. You guys seen this one?
Oh, yeah. It's got The Rock in it, I think, and he's chasing some other guy. And
some comedian guy, right? And it's like in South America, I think.
He's not Canadian.
Environment. Right?
The Rock's not Canadian.
I don't know where that came from, but I don't know if he is or not. But he was like, a bodyguard, or basically he had to go retrieve this guy, and it's like a comedy. It's like a buddy comedy or whatever they call him.
Bounty hunter, I think.
But he's not really. I think he's just like some guy who is like, oh, you go get him and bring him back. It's not like he was a bounty hunter. I don't remember. I've only seen it a couple of times, I think.
A tough, aspiring chef is hired to bring home a mobster's son from the Amazon, but becomes involved in the fight against an oppressive town operator and the search for legendary treasure.
There you go. And I think that's important because it's not like, because it's The Rock, right? Big muscular guy who does action movies and stuff. It's not like he's a totally competent bounty hunter who's doing his job chasing this guy. He's like a bumbling guy who just got stuck into that situation, and he's trying to make the best of it. And he doesn't not like the guy. You don't think even know it. Well, anyway, it's there's a bunch of dynamics to the fact that he's not like a professional. It's all it's a comedy, and they're kind of bumbling. Are you looking at the Infiniba? Because I don't remember them guns in it. I mean, I knew there were guns in it. I don't think.
Oh, yeah. Well, at the end, at one point, Rock's like using 2 pump action shotguns at the same time. Kind of weird.
How do you do that? Except, I mean, I can see how you shoot 2 rounds that way, but then what do you do?
You flip them up to where you grab the actions, and then you rack the actions by just shaking the guns up and down, and then you flip them up and grab them by the pistol grips again.
Oh, in other words, you Terminator 2 it?
Yeah, basically.
Well, if I had my say, I'd rather watch Sarah Connor do that all day and night as opposed to watching Rock do it ever. But I don't remember that part of it. Okay, but they're.
I'm pretty sure he does it with 2 guns. That's the difference, right? She only does it with 1.
If it does with 7 guns, I'd still rather watch Sarah Connor do it.
Yeah, well, me too.
Anyway, I think I like the movie. I'm going to give it a thumb up, and then I'm not giving it 2 because I don't consider it a gun movie. I didn't even realize. I mean, there are guns in it, but there's cars in every movie too. It doesn't make it a car movie, right? I think of it as a comedy.
There's a big gun shootout at the end. Big shootout at the end.
And I shouldn't say that because there is a part where they get like caught or captured or something by like a tribe, and I think they might have a whole bunch of AK-47. So there is guns in it for sure.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch. That's the point of this show, right? Or the point of this segment is to remind people to watch something. So I haven't seen it in a while, and it is worth watching. I don't mind either one of the actors in it.
Yeah, I'll give it a good 2 thumbs up. Yep, for sure.
So Tony brought up a thing that I don't know if he wants me to repeat, but I will just say this. Sarah Connor, the actress that is Sarah Connor, has a twin sister. Do you know that? So they could make a movie with 2 Sarah Connors in it. I think they have, actually. She was the mom in the Terminator 2, I think, where that gets nuked. I think that was her sister playing that because she was so muscular from being in the psychiatric place doing push-ups and stuff. They wanted to have a version of her that wasn't all muscular, and they used her sister. I think that was the trivia from that movie.
That'd be kind of cool. I'm just thinking about her and her twin sister.
Well, that's what we offer at this show. You're welcome.
If you want to know about the guns in the rundown,
Okay.
Desert Eagle, Walther P38, Tokarev TT33, 1911, PPK, Mini Luger, C96 broom handle, Smith & Wesson Model 10, Colt M1917, a Webley Mark IV, Model 66, Ruger GP100, Colt Police Positive, and Remington 870, Mossberg 500, Ithaca 37, Stevenson 67. I don't know what this is. A PPS H41. It's apparently a submachine gun.
Oh, come on. You don't know a PPSH? That's the Russian little burp gun. It's like their version of the grease gun. PPSH. One stupid 9mm Tommy gun.
Well, maybe it should be the gun of the day sometime because I'm not familiar with that.
No.
And then it's got a M14, a Norinco 86 SKS, Norinco SKS Sporter, AKM, and a Setme FR8.
So quite a few guns in that movie.
I guess so.
Kind of different.
Hold on. I don't remember. Is it capital P, lowercase s, h, or is it capital P, lower p, capital S?
No, the first 3. So PPS capital, lowercase h, dash 41.
Okay.
Ours and Tony had one. That's neat.
I don't think they're 9mm. I think they're 7.62 by 2.5.
Russian 9mm. But yeah, he had a PPS 40 or PPS 41 with as a pistol, if I remember right, where the stock was just welded shut. It's kind of cool. I like that concept because then you keep short barrel and you have all the cool like look and feel. You just can't open the stock because of stupid NFA.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's why I want to.
Right. That's our movie of the day. Next week we have. I like to tell people the movies coming up so that you have a chance to watch them. One of my favorites, Lord of War, Air America, Dogs of War. It's like a weak, sucky version of Lord of War. And then Southern Comfort. We keep pushing that one down. So if you want to get...
I want to screen share something real quick, though.
All right, you're locked on.
Yeah. You see how he's holding that rifle? That's interesting.
Just holding a Mini 14 out like a pistol?
Yeah.
Well,
I just thought that was interesting. I mean, that's something The Rock probably could pull off, so I guess it makes sense. But
it's a 223. More than just The Rock can pull that off. Trust me, that's a doable thing.
Oh, okay.
Give it a try.
I can
funny.
Anyways, pump out like that, so I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I think you're giving them all of our. Oh no, that was the YouTube secret. That's okay. I thought you were giving them our secrets.
No. No secrets were given.
All right. So, I think we might be, or no, we were talking about the movie. So that's the movies next week. And yeah, I think we might almost be done with the show here.
Yeah.
So looks like we're.
We never got to our third topic, though, eh?
Yeah, we did.
No, we didn't. We were gonna, and then we were funna, and then we tricked them into the tactical pathways.
Oh.
So yeah, we do have a whole nother.
Because I'm very interested in this. I would like to learn some information.
Oh, what's the best? Okay, so what we're talking about is what's the best trauma kit that's commercially available.
Yep.
And that's a good point. I mean, because most of us are not going to build our own trauma kit. I mean, I'm too lazy to, but it'd be nice if I could just go for $9.99 and order one, you know.
Well, you're not going to get I mean, you could buy a trauma kit for $9.99. I would not recommend risking your life on a $9.99 trauma kit, considering that's not going to be anything of quality that's going to save your life. You're not doing, I don't consider trauma kit something that you want to save money on. Save money on lots of other stuff that isn't consequential, but when it comes to saving your life or the life of someone you hold dear, quality and quantity over cost.
Well, that's true. I mean, you're the type of guy, you carry a tourniquet and stuff like that, and I don't carry any of that shit. I got a bootlace or a belt.
Awesome. Right now, you just got shot in the leg. Start unlacing that boot or take off that belt. Not even kidding. Think about it. So yeah, I carry a tourniquet in my pocket at all times. If I've got a gun on, I got a tourniquet on. If I'm in the car, I've got a tourniquet on. I carry a SWAT tourniquet, so it's basically just a big flat rubber band, fold it all up and put into a little bag so that it stays nice for a while. And they're perishable, so at some point I'll have to buy another one for $14 and start carrying it around. And I'll take the one that I've been wearing and give it to somebody like you who's convinced that a belt would work as a tourniquet, and let you deploy both and see if it changes your mind or not. But a tourniquet is designed to stop arterial bleeding. You're going to bleed out in a matter of moments. So if you really seriously think that your belt is going to be your improvised tourniquet, I highly recommend you practice more often than not getting your belt into position on in your armpits and up in your crotch, and with gusto and with the intent to save your life, and then start thinking about how you're going to keep that on. Anybody can put a belt around their leg and pull it tight, but now show me how you're going to wrap it and keep it tight, and how you're going to do that with any amount of time or transport. So a tourniquet is a self-contained device to keep you alive. And it has everything it needs built into it. And yeah, they're expensive. If you call $20 or $40 expensive, but I don't know, my life's worth more than 20 or 40 bucks, no matter how poor I am.
Yeah, there's a point. I just, don't even think about it happening. I think I have the Viking point of view is when it's your time, it's your time.
There you go. So as far as commercially available kits, I'm going to recommend a company called American Rescue. I guess I should go look. North American Rescue. They have good overall kits. As far as trauma kits, though, you're going to find many people that are creating them. Like Bob said, it's kind of expensive to go out and buy the individual pieces. So it's not as expensive if you're going to go into the biz, let's say, of creating them, to buy them by the dozens and then create 12 kits, right? So now you've paid less incrementally for each individual item, and there's not much labor involved unless they're repackaging it with some sort of, weatherproof or hardy packaging. For the most part, they're buying them in bulk, and you're able to save on the cost there, and then they assemble the pieces that you're going to need. Most of the time with a trauma kit, trauma as opposed to first aid. We're not saying trauma because we're trying to sound cool. Trauma is different than first aid. First aid kits have lots of different things for lots of little stuff. Trauma is to keep you alive from arterial bleeds. So you can stop breathing. How does it work? You can stop breathing for minutes. You can breathing.
I've always called it like the rule of threes.
Right.
If you're bleeding out, you have 3 seconds to at least start doing something about it. If you're not breathing, you have 3 minutes to figure out how you're going to start breathing again. You got 3 hours if you're going to freeze to death. 3 days without water.
No.
3 weeks without food. That's about. Then you're pretty much good to go.
I don't think you get 3 days with water in the desert, but you're right. So when we're talking trauma kits, we're talking a tourniquet, and a tourniquet that's not inside of zippers, inside of a pouch or something, or inside of a pocket. We're talking a trauma kit typically has a tourniquet on the outside, and more of the modern tourniquet, or more and more of the modern kits are going to have the tourniquet on like a rubber band or a piece of bungee or something that can be just ripped away from the rest of it, because it's obviously the thing that needs to be implemented the fastest. Because it's on the outside and it's usually kind of a flimsy attachment for that purpose, it's advisable to have more than one. You have 2 arms and 2 legs, so it's ridiculous to assume that you're only going to get injured one place. We're thinking about gunshots, I'm sure, because this is a gun-related show. But let's talk about traffic accidents and impalements on fences and just gravity and those kind of things. It's real possible to have multiple casualties. So you can't have enough tourniquets, but in a trauma kit, you want at least one in a quick access place. The rest of it would be sometimes gloves, because gloves take up almost no room, and then gauze. So you want some clean, expandable gauze. You want something that's shrink wrapped or whatever, vacuum sealed, so that they put way too much gauze into a tiny little package. So it's almost like some kind of a, kids game where you open it up and it just keeps coming because you're trying to fill a cavity, a wound cavity. You're not trying to stop the blood from coming out. You're trying to stop the blood from pouring out into that wound. So you want to be able to pack that wound. So you're going to have gauze in there and then potentially something to wrap it up. But really it's to save your life, not to make it nice and tidy. That's what you have a first aid kit to finish up with. So you'd want to have at least a tourniquet and ideally some gauze on it in a trauma kit. Now, potentially, depending on how much you want to spend, you could get into other things like the stuff for your chest issues, like a needle and a chest seal or something. But again, that might be beyond the level of most people listening. There is the concept that Jaeger likes to bring up that you don't carry your own first aid for your level of knowledge. You carry your first aid for the level of knowledge of anybody that might be around. And if that's a doctor, you don't want to have him trying to improvise something out of a plastic bag and a piece of tape when you could just put a chest seal in there. Chest seal is going to cost you $40. So a lot of people look at that and go, oh, that's expensive. Same people are paying for insurance on their vehicles and they're paying for insurance on this and that. And they're probably paying insurance on the stupid TV they bought. But when it comes to paying $40 for a chest seal, I don't get shot in the chest that often.
That often.
I never.
Wow, real bad echo.
Artisan Tony on the YouTube side says his current favorite is the trauma kits on the rifle and shotgun slings. That's an interesting concept. I like to have a tourniquet on my rifle stock, so I agree with you there. And that's a second or third, even fourth tourniquet for me. I keep a tourniquet on my rifle with some elastic cord on the stock. Those stocks have enough holes and access, points to put slings on or whatever. There's plenty of room to weave piece of 550, which is just an elastic thing about the size of your shoelace, wrap that around and tie it to itself, and that gives you basically a rubber band that you can keep a tourniquet on. The Russian infantry tourniquet Steadley's bringing up, that's just a giant rubber band. Unfortunately, unless you can get a new one, the ones I've seen are vintage, so they're old 70s rotted out rubber, and they probably work. I don't know how much Russians cared about keeping themselves alive. It might have just been so that they would feel like they were going to be, but anyway, I don't really like that thing. It's just a giant rubber band. It does work, but we've gone so far since the 70s on advancements in tourniquets that.
What about just carrying like a big piece of rubber tubing, like surgical tubing?
Yeah, like a tourniquet you'd use for, like a phlebotomist would use when they're pulling blood, is exactly what it's for, to not hurt you and to not give you too much. It's just enough to make a vein pop. So, I mean, I guess it's better than nothing if you had to improvise, but no, that's way too
no, I'm saying like the kind of surgical tubing you use on a slingshot and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Go ahead and pull on that to the point where
different grades of it. There's stuff that's stronger than others, right? I'm just thinking a good, like high quality, strong surgical.
I don't know why you're trying to improvise all these tourniquets when you could just go get one that's designed to do the thing. And especially the ones that have like the little like clip thing, so you like cinch it down and wrap around and go down on the other side or whatever, and then you're done. It holds. You're good to go.
Yeah. I think
and it's as far as commercially available stuff, and I don't know if this is good. This is the one I got because they were on We Like Shooting and they seemed like nice people, and I figured I needed something. So it's Dark Angel Medical, and it's what you were talking about, like a little vacuum sealed, and they have a couple different sizes or whatever, but it's got the type of stuff you're talking about, right? It's got gauze or a patch thing, and I think they sell ones that have like shears and different stuff.
Yeah, see, that's the kind of thing I'm looking at and going, just, well, if I can just buy something like that, throw it in the range bag or throw it in the glove compartment of the car, okay, I'm good. Like,
then you bought a trauma kit and you've treated it like a first aid kit. A trauma kit is on your body.
Really? You're gonna wear it on your belt. Like, how much shit do you have to wear? Like, I don't want to look like Batman. Great. I got a multi-tool. I've got usually magazines.
People will look at your bled out dead body and go, this guy looks sharp. This really has his outfit together. I don't know how
isn't that why cargo pants are pretty awesome?
No, I don't know how you guys think tourniquet and a piece of gauze is, but it's barely bigger than a pack of cigarettes that Bob has in his pocket most of the time. So we're not talking about, if you want to blow it off and consider it a first aid.
No, I mean, like seriously, half the time I don't have anywhere to put my cigarettes. I'm carrying it in my hand because I wear jeans, and jeans were just not made for all the crap we got to carry today.
So then maybe don't wear old-fashioned ass clothes.
Well, I like jeans though; they're comfortable.
Okay, so I'm going to keep going because Bob's obviously anti-saving his life and anti us talking about it. But
I will say this, though. The fact that he at least admitted he's going to buy a real thing instead of just going to the dollar store and making one up and putting in the range bag, it's at least closer than not having anything.
Well, that's a good point. Let's address the surgical tubing garbage. So that is not a good option. If you have enough surgical tubing to go around your thigh, you're more than once, because you're talking flimsy surgical tubing here. I don't care how good a quality you get if it's made for like automobiles, vacuum hoses or something. You're talking a huge amount of mass to go around your leg more than a few times. So what are you going to do? Wound that all up, maybe with a rubber band? Now you're talking the size tourniquet, just the tourniquet itself, this improvised tourniquet that has no windlass, no way to really keep itself closed. You're going to improvise with something that's physically much larger than the kits I'm talking about, more like the football size almost that Bob's talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Not enough. And I don't want anybody to take away that surgical tubing is a good improvised tourniquet.
I just have to go to surgical tubing.
Great. So I'm going to go on to Cycle Camp's point on the YouTube side. He says, why don't we do a Kickstarter for folks that would like to have kits, donate some money, and then have someone picks out the parts. I think that might be an option. However, I think it's rebuilding the mousetrap. There are definitely, Dark Angel is a good company. There's other companies out there. Remember, we have more Green Berets. I'm just going to go with Green Berets because they're the ones I'm most familiar with. We have more Green Berets than we've ever had. Every single Green Beret gets medical training. So you get all these guys coming through the service, and there's a lot of them, and then a percentage of them are going into some sort of business. Or at least consulting to someone who's in some sort of business. So you have the medical knowledge, emergency medical knowledge that our government paid millions of dollars to obtain, paid many more millions of dollars to train these guys on, and why not take advantage of some of our tax dollars and these guys' goodwill and use the kits that they've already come up with. So I appreciate the concept of doing that, but it's already been done to some extent. There's plenty of good places out there. We could definitely spend some more time on a future show talking about some of the different companies and maybe even have some of them on here. But you've got EMS, emergency medical people, paramedics and EMTs and the such, wilderness medics, people that go out and save people, just out in the woods. They are very good at improvised and austere medicine. And then again, you've got the military side that's progressing. So we've got lots and lots of knowledge out there. And lots of these people are already in the business of creating kits. It can be confusing for sure. I want to jump over to the gun channel side because this is one that comes up quite a bit. Robbie's suggesting throw a few tampons in the bag. I'll go the other way and say never put tampons in the bag unless you're with a female companion who might need them for that situation. But as far as packing a wound, tampons do the opposite of what we want to do when we pack a wound. We want to stop capillary flow. So you get a gunshot in a place in your body that doesn't normally have a hole in it. You've got blood leaking out. And what a tampon is designed to do is absorb blood. So if you want a nice clean corpse that doesn't have a big blood spill underneath it, a tampon is perfect. But if you want to stop the bleeding by smashing all the capillaries to create coagulation, you need to pinch off all of those veins and arteries that have been broken, and you need to put pressure on them. The only way to do that cleanly is with sterile gauze. So again, you want a zigzag pack sterile gauze, and you want to practice, take a steak or whatever the hell you're going to eat for dinner someday, poke a hole in it with a knife, and then take a thing of gauze that you've either been carrying around for a while, so you're concerned that the packaging might be broken, and use that as a test. Or if you've got kids and they've never experienced it, have them open the kit and waste that $14 or however much, $6, whatever the hell a piece of zigzag gauze cost, and then have them pack that. And they're going to be surprised how much gauze it takes to fill just a knife poke into a big piece of meat. And if you're the big piece of meat, jamming a tampon in there is going to do the opposite of what we really want done. So while it can be cool for like someone who's not really thinking about it, a cool way it's been popular to do that, but I would highly recommend against it.
There's another suggestion out there which I had also thought of, and I've heard different opinions on this as well, but having Quick Clot.
Quick Clot is a brand name for, right now it's just like saying a company, like saying
Johnson. Well, okay, having a coagulation powder thingy.
Right. Well, now let's a coagulation agent. So Quick Clot was the original, and that was basically just powdered seashells, and then you pour that into a wound, and it does create the coagulation which you desire. However, it can be difficult to remove. So for and it creates a lot of heat. So for those reasons, it was kind of frowned upon unless it was completely austere conditions and you were dying. And then it's better to have to deal with a horrible emergency room situation and be alive than to just die out there. But Quick Clot has evolved, so you can get the Quick Clot that's embedded into gauze, and then there's other methods of implementation of it. So look into it. I don't carry it. It is something that if, like Hawaii, lives out in Hawaii, and if he's out on that property he was looking at and he's hours away from somebody, that's a different situation than, I don't know, somebody who's in, the local shooting range that's half an hour by car and 5 minutes by helicopter from an emergency room. Keep in mind your situation. It is a lifesaver, but it has good and bad. So I wouldn't, and if we're talking trauma kit, I don't consider it trauma kit stuff. That's first aid kit stuff. That's your secondary level of stuff, the stuff that Bob wants to put in the car, put in your range bag. Great. It takes you 30 seconds or a minute to get to it. You've already put the tourniquet on, so you've got that 30 seconds. It's not something you need in the first 30 seconds. That's all you need there is a tourniquet and then gauze. And maybe gloves if you're going to be administering to somebody else and you don't know if they got hepatitis or something. I'm not a medic or nothing, but yeah, I mean, since we're talking about it, I figure let's talk intelligently, not just like.
Oh, definitely. And I just want to say I appreciate your point of view, because I can tell by the way you're talking that you have more knowledge in this than I do. And that is something that me personally, I need to get better trained on, because I don't know a lot.
Rule of thumb I heard long time ago, I think in a backpacking magazine when I worked at this gas station when I was a kid. I was reading this backpacking magazine as I have to do, and it had an article about first aid, and I was an Eagle Scout and through the military and had taken classes as I became a Scoutmaster and stuff, just continuing education through the Red Cross and stuff. So I thought, I consider myself well versed in first aid, and this was like in the 90s, let's say. So the question in this article was, can you remember the name of your last first aid instructor? And that's a good rule of thumb for most people, that it's time to take another first aid class. In other words, enough time has passed that you probably, if you forgot his name, her name, you've probably forgotten some of the curriculum. So with that in mind, I ended up thinking about it again. And then a couple years later, I got to a point where I needed, I think, 2 or 3 credits to finish my associates. So looking around at all the garbage bullshit I could have taken for 2 hours, I decided to take an 8-hour EMT course instead. Give me an option in a career if I wanted it. But mainly I was just ready for the next level of first aid training. And you don't have to have any prerequisites. You don't have to follow through and become an EMT or any kind of EMS job. You can take a paramedic class. There's wilderness EMT, which is even better if you have a place where you can take a wilderness EMT course, because it's even better. It's 8 credit hours, if I remember right. So that was a couple of 3 days a week for a semester. Not only is it great information, but you get to drive around in an ambulance, administering first aid and stuff, which is super awesome. You get to do ride-alongs. They encourage you to do ride-alongs. And if you're not a person who has done ride-alongs, this might be a great way to get some experience with it. And whenever there's an excuse, I kind of feel weird just doing ride-alongs for no reason, because then the person you're actually riding along with is like, why is this guy here? If he's not pursuing the career, why is he here? But if you're in an EMT class, I took like 8 ride-alongs because I could. So I'm in Tucson, so we have different hospitals. We have one hospital that's for like the county where they take whatever, criminals and stuff. There's the hospital where they take like the people who can't afford medical care, but we're obviously going to still give them medical care. There's the fancy ones. There's the burn one. So I tried to do ride-alongs in as many of the emergency rooms as I could. And that involved sometimes being in the ambulance, sometimes just hanging out in the emergency room. And again, you're not that you're going to come out a doctor, but you're going to come out with a lot of interesting stories and a lot of interesting experience that, well, it costs, I think, I forget what it cost. It cost something. I mean, I was doing it because I wanted to finish my degree or whatever, but it was basically like taking that many class hours. So I'm sure it's something that if somebody's interested, if you've got kids, or if you're, again, working with a scout troop or doing ham radio type of emergency services, whatever that's called, it's something that you can add to your resume and, you know, potentially profit from it, if not just have that knowledge for yourself and your family.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of the overlooked things, especially in the gun community when you're talking about, you know, the zombie apocalypse and all that stuff. I mean, I'll admit I fall into this category. I enjoy talking about zombies as entertainment stuff and what would I do to survive and blah, blah, blah. But when the rubber hits the road, yeah, I'd probably be screwed because, you know, if something happens to me, I don't know how to fix me or someone else who's with me. So I just need to get friends with, like, you know, a doctor or something. They can hang out with me.
And we do have the resources of the internet now. I've never pursued it, but there must be instructors. Actually, we know USN Doc. He used to do some really interesting stuff, like doing sutures on chicken and stuff to give yourself practice and that kind of thing. So there are doctors out there who are willing to share knowledge when it's appropriate. Obviously, there's some things that they're not going to delve into for liability, or because they know it's beyond what you're going to need and what you should be worrying about, you know, so they don't overwhelm you. But there's probably a lot of good resources out there now. All right, well, I don't know. I suppose we could probably talk about that for a while. I'd be more than happy to talk about it again. So if somebody's got a more specific thing to talk about or something spurred a conversation, we encourage you definitely to take it into your own content. If you're creating the blog or the YouTube channel or something, go put out the question. If you are considering expanding your medical knowledge, oh, shit, here's a great opportunity to plug Tactical Response. People hate it when I do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Tactical Response is hands down the best medical class I've ever attended. I've attended them from Scouts to the Army to Red Cross to EMT. I'm a nationally registered, I'm expired, but I'm a nationally registered EMT. I did pursue, when you take the class, an EMT class, you can just say thanks and get your credit hours and walk away, or you can test out and become an EMT in your state. And then additionally, you can become a nationally registered EMT by taking another class. And now it just means you can go to any state and be an EMT, I think. So I've had a lot of experience over the years, and obviously a lot of that is old. But as far as hands-on, as far as, like you just said, rubber hits the road, nitty-gritty, keeping yourself and your friends alive, even in EMT school, you don't grab crotches. In Tactical Response, emergency medical, you're grabbing your friend's crotch. So if you think that's like, oh, giggle, giggle, fuck you, because that is how, I mean, if you're not willing to stick your hand in your friend's ass crack to see if he's got blood coming out of there when he's unconscious, then you don't care about that friend. If it's your mom or your kids, then you think it's time to giggle when you're talking about reaching up into somebody's ass crack or up underneath a boob or something to find a wound, then you shouldn't be talking about this. Go buy some Band-Aids and consider yourself covered. But that's the same kind of in your face, like, let's get this down and let's not fart around training that he does in his pistol classes, in his medical classes. I'm what do you call it? I didn't just audit that class. I took that class, and I can't say enough about it. And that's definitely one, if you're interested in taking it, he travels with that one. Highly recommended. It's one day, and you won't get a better just plain old introduction and hands-on first aid. And then, of course, it incorporates it right into CCW issues and having a firearm during it, which you won't get in any other kind of Red Cross or EMT stuff.
And don't a lot of times, like, they'll do, you know, fighting pistol over the weekend, and then the medical's like that Monday or something. So it's like you're already in the training mode. Yep. And a lot of times you can just tack on that class before or after.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. Glad we brought that up, because it's definitely worth mentioning. And we don't get paid at all by James, but I'm going to continue to promote his stuff because he's hands down some of the best nitty-gritty, get it done, learn it, and, you know, realize your role type of training you can get.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, it's like what you said earlier when we were talking the tourniquets. Like, okay, when was the last time you actually wrapped something around your leg and cranked down on it? And from what I hear, like in his class, you're doing that with tourniquets. You're actually using them. And if you never do it and you just think like, oh, it's probably easy, whatever, then you're not, you know, you're not really prepared. So, anyways, I think that was cool. That was a good. I think we should bring up medical in the future on some other alternative topics on different weeks.
I just tried the tourniquet. It freaking hurts.
Good. It needs to hurt for it to work. So Dog Body brought up another good resource, the Patriot Nurse. I believe she is an RN, right? And she does, I haven't watched her stuff in a while, but she was making very interesting videos back in the day. And this was 5 years ago. So I'm assuming by now she's also highly produced,
she does travel and teach courses too.
Right on. So I've never experienced one, but I suspect those are probably pretty good.
Skinny Medic, that's another good source for information on the internet.
I'm not as familiar with him.
But he does, he also sells kits, I think trauma kits and first aid kits and shit like that. But he's, I think he's a military trained medic. So he's, got some knowledge, shares it. Pretty interesting videos. So yeah, he's a good one.
All right, so I guess I got a little worked up on that, but I appreciate it because I've been kind of down in the dumps today, having a bunch of decisions to make with that damn band. Not real fun. So thanks everybody for being a distraction and letting me take my mind off of that for a while. Nothing else, being a little selfish there, but I think that's the end of the show. So I think it's a bit long. We're at episode 335, so that means Monday it'll be episode 336. Looks like we're gonna be talking about the week. We'll be talking about how to use social media and why is social media so antisocial. Or is it just the gun guys? And then we talk about the events that are coming up. So that gives you some time to head over to Gun Channels. There's a menu at the top of every single page on Gun Channels. If you go down the one that says resources, there's a firearms calendar there. Anybody who's a member of Gun Channels is welcome to add as many events as they'd like. If it's an event that you attend or it's an event you'd like to attend, you'd like to let people know about, feel free to add it. If it's at all firearms related, it's totally appropriate. On Mondays, we'll go through and talk about what's in the calendar. So again, encourage you to take advantage of that. Let's use this interactive media. We'll be talking about it on the social media segment of the show on Monday, but that's very valuable to the event itself. Something like TriggerCon, just coming up at the end of July, is not an established event like the Media Day at SHOT Show or something. So any efforts you can do towards letting people know about it is also underneath the internet, given all kinds of backlinks and advantage to those events. So we do it so that we can let people know as human beings, but we're also doing it as an alternative thing to help amplify some of these events as far as their roots on the internet. So please take advantage of that. We can search events, and we've got a bunch of them in there that we found, but the whole power of having 5,000 people on Gun Channels is that we got 5,000 individuals out there being aware of different things that are happening. So we'll talk about our daily stuff, like the gun shop of the day. I put the PPSH in there as our gun of the day, and Lord of War will be our movie on Monday. Otherwise, everybody can stay tuned tonight for Edge of the Week, or somebody's calling it. And I don't know if Heavy's going to be tonight or not. I think with his new schedule, he's not available on Friday, so we might be losing Heavy as a Friday show, which means there's a slot in the primetime schedule there if you want to start doing a weekly or a semi-weekly podcast or discussion or something. Feel free to add it to the calendar and start doing it. People will show up because they're used to being there for Heavy. Otherwise, tomorrow morning, Travis usually does an early show on Gun Channels. Then Rick does Rick's Life as I See It at 3 p.m. Eastern. Later on on Saturday, we'll be doing the tactical quiz at the same time we do this show, 7 p.m. Eastern or Pacific. And then, of course, Sunday, Matt usually does some kind of coffee and chat type of thing. I think in the afternoon, we got Come and Talk It out of Texas. Yoder, Texas will usually drop the link in there. It's a syndicated radio show out of Texas, a very interesting show. And then, of course, on Sunday afternoons is when Yankee usually does his kind of one-on-one with his audience. So you've got all that to look forward to on Sunday. Monday, I'm assuming Jimmy will be back with the Early Watch, a long format show that runs for many hours during the mornings over on Gun Channels. And then we'll be back here at 7 p.m. I guess I'll throw in one thing there. Our friend Emil Frenzy passed away on June 7th, and his co of the Voices of the West show is continuing to do his show, which I'm sure Emil would have appreciated. And he's invited me to be on the show to talk about the decks of cards. I'm dedicating the cards to Emil. So I'm not sure if I'll be on this Saturday or next Saturday, but I'm going to try to do that. And I'll be at the radio station. So maybe somebody else can simulcast it or something if I'm on. But yeah, we'll continue to do Voices of the West on Saturdays.
Oh, that's great. It's continuing.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. That's really cool. And that's the cards, how you dedicate it to them. I think that's really cool. And I didn't even really watch or listen to the show that much, but that's pretty darn cool that people are still remembering him and carrying on.
Otherwise, I think that's it. Bob can take it away. Oh, I threw it in. Hey, Bob. Hope you don't mind.
We've got a quote today that is appropriate for a kind of memorial. But before that, I want to just add, please add our channel, subscribe to our channel, thumbs up, and share it with people. It helps get the word out. So on that, I'll end it with the quote today. It's hard to find a cowboy in a 4-star hotel. His shuttle is his horse, a campfire is nightlight. His bedroll is under 4 million stars. And those nice words. Let's end this, and we'll see you all Monday.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.